And there I was the girl from Suits.
This one's wife. She's failed again. Hello, I'm HgTudor. It's almost the case that I could present a video on a daily basis saying she's failed again. After all, she is the Duchess of Flops. She failed with 40 by 40. She failed with a political career. She failed with regard to parental leave. She didn't become a fashion icon. Dior didn't want to know her. Spotify got rid of her. Archetypes was panned. Netflix aren't pleased with what has been generated. She doesn't have good relations with her family or Harry's family. American Riviera Orchard is a complete joke. Recently, I did the videos Failures and Fuck-Ups, which is a categoric list of many of the failings that she has embraced. She really is an abject loser. And this has been driven by the fact that she has no talent and she's unlikable. And she's unlikable because of the way that her narcissism has caused her to behave, and plenty of people have seen this. But what's further in terms of her failure, which is actually rather laughable, is the fact that even when she fails, she can't get that right. She's a failure at failing, which just beautifully encapsulates the complete uselessness of this woman. For instance, she is unpopular, but she can't even manage to be the most unpopular royal. Prince Andrew gets that. Thus, she comes second from bottom. And of course, with that comes the laughable aspect of the only person that can keep you off the bottom is a huffy, arrogant, alleged sex offender, and that's the company essentially that you keep down at the bottom of the league of popularity of royals. She also fails at failing because an article provided by Hanisha Sethi in the Daily Express relates to who the biggest diva in the royal family is, or was. And unfortunately for this one's wife, she can't even manage to succeed at being the biggest diva. Yes, according to the article, a royal expert has revealed the two biggest divas in the royal family, with this one's wife coming in at second place. Thus, she fails at failing. She can't even secure that position of being the biggest diva. Speaking on The Sun's latest royal podcast, it is claimed Princess Margaret snatches the number one spot. Former BBC royal correspondent Jenny Bond shared her opinion on the podcast when asked who the biggest diva in the royal family was. She said, "I think historically, probably Princess Margaret was a real diva." Princess Margaret, the younger sister of Queen Elizabeth II, is often remembered as the epitome of royal glamour and sophistication. Although she played her part as a dutiful member of the royal family, it was her personality which was sometimes described as that of a diva. The Queen's younger sister was also known for her tendency not to hold back, and was sometimes accused of being rude to people she had just met. The former BBC royal correspondent previously said she would say exactly what she thought. She was sitting next to Twiggy, the model, and she ignored her for about 2 hours and then turned to her and said, "Who are you?" And she said, "Oh, my name is Leslie, ma'am, but most people know me as Twiggy." And Margaret turns and says, "How unfortunate." Miss Bond continued, she was fantastically grand, fantastically snobbish, and she did tarnish the reputation of the royal family with her lifestyle, her broken marriage, bringing divorce into the fold. One of the most significant aspects, perhaps contributing to Princess Margaret's diva image, was her tumultuous love life. Her affair with Group Captain Peter Townsend, a divorced war hero, caused a national scandal. Margaret eventually married Anthony Armstrong Jones, a photographer, in 1960, but their marriage eventually ended in the first major divorce in the royal family since Henry VIII. But Ms. Bond explained, but that too has another side because she cleared the way for younger members of the royal family to get out of unhappy marriages. In the Sun's Royal podcast, Ms. Bond also added, I do think that this one's wife has some diva qualities. The Duchess of Sussex once discussed the complexities surrounding the word diva on her HgTudor podcast with guest singer Mariah Carey. Miss Carey jokingly said, well, it wasn't a joke, it was a corrective devaluation, that this one's wife has diva moments sometimes. This one's wife later admitted this comment left her sweating. In the second episode of Archetypes, Mariah said, you give us diva moments sometimes, this one's wife, don't even act like. Of course, if you recall, this threat to control posed by this comment did not go down well with this one's wife, so much so she had to basically sneak back into the recording studio later to clarify what was actually meant, whereby apparently it was focused on her dress sense. She said, so she must have felt my nervous laughter, and she jumped right in to make sure I was crystal clear when she said diva. She was talking about the way that I dress, the posture, the clothing. Yeah, sure she was. That's what this one's wife narcissism told her that it was. Nevertheless, Jenny Bond is asked, who does she think the biggest diva in the royal family is? And this one's wife comes in at second. So even when it's something that's not too good, she can't even succeed in that regard, that she is deemed to be second place. And it kind of sums her up, doesn't it? That she fails at failing. That she is this hapless individual that no matter what she tries to do, she buggers up. It's the old Sadeem touch. But do other people agree that she is the second-placed diva? Certainly her behaviours would support it, that she's self-absorbed, thinks she's amazing, expects everybody to bend the knee and bow to her demands and needs. But let's have a quick dive below the line to ascertain what people's thoughts are in relation to this. UK Now writes, this one's wife is hardly part of the royal family, just a hanger-on. Molly's mum, at least Margaret was a princess, unlike this one's wife who just thinks she is. Totty57, Margaret was a true royal princess, this one's wife is just a blot on the landscape. BJ Brompet, at least Margaret was beautiful, unlike this one's wife. Female Online states it's well documented that Princess Margaret was a massive diva. Unlike the American woman, however, she was a princess of the blood. She was temperamental, but she was also entertaining and very witty. She was also fiercely loyal to the Queen and did not tell lies about her family. My View Today, trying to destroy the life's work of the late Queen, accusing Prince Philip of pretending to be ill in order to delay her Oprah interview, and accusing the King and Princess Catherine of being racist tips the balance for me. Margaret was just spoilt. This one's wife is something entirely on a different scale. Royal to the core. Even though Princess Margaret may have been a diva, she was very kind-hearted and totally supported her sister, the Queen and the monarchy. This one's wife, on the other hand, is not, and has never been fit to lick the soles of Princess Margaret's shoes or any member of the current royal family were she still with us. Winter Days. Princess Margaret may have been a diva during her life, but at least she was honest and loyal. More than can be said for this one's wife. Interesting, isn't it? That despite the fact that it's an agreement that Princess Margaret was indeed a diva, people still find some laudable traits of hers, whereas for this one's wife, not the case. The fact is, Fluffy Rock states, apart from being married to Harry, this one's wife is nothing to do with the royal family. Old Rio, more desperate Sussex PR twaddle, living in the past because there is nothing positive to write about. We'll be comparing Charles with Henry VIII next. Berry Kay. This one's wife is just drab. She tries to add sparkle by running around half naked like she did in Nigeria. The First Lady saw right through her. Bromfiet. Margaret might have been the diva. Impossible to even compare these two. Princess Margaret has led a celebrity life but never trashed anybody. So an insult to the late princess. Pretty resounding criticism of this one's wife, emphasising once again that even when it comes to somebody who was described as rude and a diva, she is the one that is criticised all the more. I'm HgTudor. Thank you for listening.